Welcome back. Well, today is Project Sunday. So we have what I hope will prove to be an interesting project for you. It's the first time I am trying this. So the end results are totally unknown, and I probably will not know for at least another 6 months. But hey, we're going to give it a try. So we've got a bit of a carryover from the video we did on bagworms. We are going to try to save Jane's bagworm-infested pine trees. And we're going to do this by taking some hardwood cuttings of the trees and planting them, overwintering them, and hoping for the best. So, when we get back. Well, when we did the bagworm video, you got a chance to see that Jane's pine trees are just full of little bagworm cocoons. They haven't been sprayed, and her husband just knocked some of them off. Now, he says he knocked all of them off, but no. On the other hand, he's 84 years old, so we just can't hold him to the standard that we would apply to a 25-year-old kid who could climb into the trees and do whatever is necessary. Although Jane's husband does climb on the roof all the time, even now, even at 84. And I sit at my window with my cell phone in my hand, and I've gone through the menu, and I'll have it opened up to our local ambulance service, and my thumb is right there ready to push that button. I have never been able to persuade that man to get down off the roof. Neither has Jane. No, I don't even know what to say. 84-year-old guy on the roof. He's sort of a legend in the neighborhood. Anyway, the trees are infested. And to make matters worse, he decided it would be a good idea to cut away the bottom third of the branches on the trees. So let me start off by showing you a picture of what these poor trees look like now. Yeah, yeah, he just did that this weekend. This is brand new. He just got the idea into his head and ran with it. So I am particularly concerned for the larger of the two trees. As you may have noticed from the close-up picture of the remaining branches, it's very thin. The needles have fallen. It's no longer dense and full the way a good pine tree is supposed to be. And he got rid of more than a third of the entire leaf structure, needle structure of the tree. Now, as we all know from elementary botany, this is how the trees survive. The leaves, the needles, or whatever the little green bits are, they are the ones that take in the light and photosynthesis, develop the food for the tree, and the tree is bug infested and stressed to begin with, and now it's lost better than a third of its food gathering supply. I wouldn't give you much odds for the chances of this tree surviving. But Jane planted both those trees as tiny little saplings probably 10 or 15 years ago. And she likes them, and she really wants her trees. And I understand that. I want my trees. I was devastated when I saw that Martha had bugs. So there's nothing I can do to help her except try to preserve her trees in some way. So fortunately, I did my work the day before her husband went out with the loppers and chopped the tree apart. And I had taken some hardwood cuttings from the tree. The reason I say it's fortunate I did it the day before is because the area that I took my branches from is the area that he cut away. Even though the little bits that I took wouldn't have been much, I would have hated to have added anything to the stress of these trees. So let's take a look at the film of how I took the cuttings, and basically you'll see the process. So here we go. All right, we are at the tree that is farthest to the west on Jane's property. And what we're going to do now is we're going to take some cuttings. And this, let me back up so you can see. This looks like a nice, strong branch. So we are just going to come in and lop that puppy off. Now, there we go. I've got about 18 inches of branch here. Next thing I'm going to do right away is I am going to clean the shears. Now, what I have here is a paper towel, and the paper towel is saturated in alcohol. And I want to clean the shears because we know we have an infestation. Here, and it just drops into the cup. And we don't want to spread it. And let's see. All right. This one looks pretty good too. So I've got my two branches there, and now we're going to go off and grab something from another tree. Now, we are on our second tree, and ordinarily, if I were cutting branches from a tree, I would cut so as not to interfere with the tree's shape. But this little guy is in rough shape. The tree's in trouble. So I can feel confident taking a cutting from just about anywhere. And this has a lot of nice new growth. And it's a branch of the tree that doesn't seem to have been weakened too badly. So we are going to just come in and snap that off. And that's what we've got from this tree. And we're going to grab this one. It's sticking out. Here's the silhouette of the tree. As you can see, it's sticking out already. So we don't have to be over fussy about this one. Now, once again, my shears, and here's my alcohol, because what we do not want to do is we do not want to transfer any of the bugs from one tree to another. Now, This is the third tree in Jane's yard. It does not seem to be infested, but it's definitely naked in the middle, which certainly indicates some sort of problem. So we're going to do the same thing we did with the other two trees, and we're going to snap off some strong branches for rerooting. And what we're going to do is we're going to take them off over here on the street side. And the reason we're going to do that is that's the side most likely to get damaged by passing traffic. Consequently, it could stand a trim. Okay, so what I did, basically, and I hope I explained it well enough, in the video, but of course, I was filming outdoors with the traffic coming by, and I'm not sure, in general, the camera I use when I'm taking film, when I'm out shopping or whatever, that camera, it's a good camera. It's a Nikon. It's not junk, but I just don't think it has as good sound quality as the camera I use when I'm doing filming at home. Oh, and believe me, people complain about this sound quality, so what can I say? The other is even worse. So what I took with me when I was going off to deal with this, to get my cuttings, was a good pair of sharp pruning shears, bang, bang, and a coffee cup with a paper towel absolutely saturated with alcohol. This is just regular drugstore isopropyl alcohol. The reason that is so important is I knew going in that the trees were infested with bugs. And from my research on the bugs, I also found that they are microscopic. So I'm not going to be able to see them even if I can manage to, I'm going to have to treat it the same way I would treat the tree if it had a communicable disease, which means you cut, you clean your shears, you cut, you clean your shears. I can't overstress the importance of that. Otherwise, while you are cutting into the tree, if there's any disease, it's getting on the blade of your pruning shears. You go over to another tree, you make the cut, and whatever's going on there is getting onto the blade of your pruning shears, and you're just transferring it back and forth. So the cleanliness aspects are really, really important. And that's why I brought the cup over. It wasn't as if I was going to cut everything and then bring them back home and clean them up. I didn't want to communicate anything from one tree to the next tree on the theory that who knows what's going on. I have no idea how badly infested these trees are. Ugh. So that was the first step, cutting. And when I took cuttings, I took about 18 inches of branch so that I could take my cuttings off those after I got it home. I also brought a bag with me so that I could remove bagworms as I saw them and get rid of them, because you don't just throw those cocoons on the ground. If you do, the eggs will hatch out anyway, and then there's a nice healthy tree there for them to chew on. So no, you get rid of the bagworms. When I got my little branches home, then I started cutting off the bits and pieces that I was going to use to root. So let's take a look at that. So here is one of my cuttings. And what I'm going to do is clip this branch off near where it meets the main branch. And then I'm going to pop it in the rooting medium. So we'll get back. Here is the end of the branch. As you can see, I nicked off the bark with a sharp knife and stripped it down. So we're going to take that, and here is our rooting hormone. So we take that and we stick it in the rooting hormone, and we get the rooting hormone all over that bottom part. All right, now that we have rooting hormone all over the bottom, we've got our little peat pot, and we are just going to stick this little bugger in there. I'm going to do the same thing with one more cutting for this pot, and then I'm going to go on to some other branches. Now here's something to be aware of. I started off with this cutting and then realized my mistake and went over to a different one. This central branch should be the leader. In other words, that's the part of the tree that will grow the tallest. However, we have a competing leader over here. This secondary branch is bigger. That makes this a bad choice. And so I went over to this one instead, where it has a clear-cut leader, and I think that will be a better choice for our cutting. Now at this point, which is the second stage, my tools are no longer the alcohol and the shears. Now it's rooting hormone. That's that little white powder I was dipping the ends into, and a sharp knife. I use a wallpaper knife. I'm reluctant to say box cutter. After 9/11, box cutter and machine gun start to feel like they're in the same category. But, you know, just a sharp knife to strip away the bark, dip it in the rooting compound, and then you throw it into your potting medium. And a lot of people use all kinds of different stuff. People will say, well, use a mix of sand and peat and whatever. The person who first told me how to do this was a landscaper who said he used a combination of wood shavings and potting soil. So that's what I did. I have no idea if it's going to work. Really don't know, but I am going to give this a try. So I put them in peat pots, and I ended up taking four cuttings from each of the 3 trees, so that I have 2 little pots, 2 little peat pots, each peat pot with 2 cuttings in it from each of her 3 pine trees. The 2 that we know are affected, and the 3rd pine tree, which is the one out on the street. Actually, it's a blue spruce, this 3rd one. So let me show you a picture of that one. That's a beautiful tree, and her husband went out this morning and said he was going to do the same thing he had done to the other trees to that one. And Jane said, well, if you're going to do that, you might as well just cut the whole thing down. And he got fussy, put everything away, went inside to watch a football game. Now I told her, I said, look, he's going to get over it. You know, he's good. He'll get over it. He's just cranky now, but this isn't going to last. But in the meantime, of course, he can't keep doing this to the trees. He will kill them. Yes, there's no 2 ways around it. He will kill them if he keeps this up. But, so Jane is doing her best to fight for her trees. The other 2, she didn't even know he was going to do it until after he had done it, when one of the other neighbors had said, gee, Jane, I saw him out there with his saw and I thought he was cutting down the trees. And Jane said, well, geez, if she thought he was cutting down the trees, good Lord, he must have taken an awful lot off. And yes, he did. So this is what we have, cuttings from 3 trees. And I'm going to keep an eye on them for a while, make sure they're watered, and, you know, whatever else you have to do, you know, watch them, make sure they look healthy. Right now, we're in November. Within the next 6 to 8 weeks, I am absolutely going to have to relocate them for the winter. So let me show you what happens then. So what I have here now is 12 cuttings in 6 peat pots. So let's go see where they're going to spend the winter. Okay, what you see before you is the schoolhouse and its foot-thick brick walls. Now this is a serious thermal mass, and that corner right there, there's a little weed coming up, but that's about it. Nothing is planted there. That's where these evergreen trees are going to spend the winter. I'm going to tuck them into the mulch, and if I back up, well, I don't even need to back up. As you can see, I've got plenty of leaves in my yard. I'm going to run over the leaves with the lawnmower and crunch them up into a nice fine mass and use that to sort of bed the plants into that corner. It will help protect them from extremes in the weather. And the brick and stone, this is a southern exposure, so right here, this way is south, and this way, going over here, is west. So they've got a little southwest corner, and that should keep them toasty warm all winter. And that will be nice. That and the chopped up leaf mulch that I throw around them is probably going to ensure that they have a decent chance of overwintering. Okay, so that little corner in front of the schoolhouse has a southwestern exposure. It's on the southern side of the schoolhouse toward the west, and it's got the big heat sink, really. We've got the brick wall, the concrete porch. They will heat up over the day. They'll just suck in heat and then gradually release it at night. So locating these plants next to that sort of mass of heat-retaining brick and concrete is probably going to protect them. Now, today I was raking leaves because I am going to need a nice pile of leaves. And I'm going to run over them with the lawnmower to get them all mulched nice and tiny, and then shove that on top of my little trees to make sure that they have some winter protection. Now, as I say, I've never done this before. This is a first for me. I think I have a decent chance of getting this to work. We'll see. I am not a person with a green thumb. I'm not. You all know, because I say this all the time, I'm from the city. You know, my idea of a tree is something that lives. Boston Public Gardens, they got trees there. I'm pretty sure they do. I've seen them. You know, I'm not sort of a natural gardener. I wasn't raised on a farm. I don't know very much about this sort of thing. So for me, I have to look it up and do the research. Nevertheless, I'm going to fight for these trees. The larger of Jane's pine trees, frankly, as I said before, I wouldn't give much for its chance of survival. But if we can keep clones from this tree, then Jane she'll have to start all over again, of course, but she will have something to preserve. And given the fact that Mary and Martha out in my yard, and you've seen them, they were planted, I think 6 years ago. They're good sized. They really are. So in the overall scheme of things, you know, yes, it's an investment in time, but I am very concerned for Jane's trees, and I'm especially concerned because Jane got the trees and planted them as little tiny saplings. Like I said, she got them from the Arbor Society, and they mean a lot to her. And Jane means a lot to me. So this is my effort to try to preserve her trees. It is an ongoing process. I will let you know. Hopefully the trees will survive the winter. That is the thing. If they survive the winter, I'm pretty sure they're going to be okay. We can heal them into the ground somewhere, or Jane has a little section in her yard that she uses to pop in young trees to let them grow. I believe she's got 4 dogwoods in there right now. She is a gardener. I'm not. We just need to be able to get them through the winter, and then in the spring we can stick them in the ground, let them get a little bigger, a little stronger, and then, she can do what she wants with them. So that is our project for this Sunday. As I say, no idea how it's going to turn out. We're just going to have to hope for the best. It is going to be an experience because now that we know our neighborhood has a bagworm infestation, and as I believe I mentioned, we've got 3 neighbors who are on top of the situation and dealing with it. We also have other neighbors we know are not going to. We also have plenty of trees that are apparently unowned by anyone. They're just sort of on open land, and we can't control what's going on there. So we could all be fighting the good fight, but we may not be able to really address the problem. And if it comes to it, we're going to have to be prepared to find a way to keep our plants going. So hopefully nothing is going on in your yard that is this bad. But, Tom doesn't live in your yard. He is not going to go and shear off 1/3 of your trees. But what can I say? We're dealing with what we're dealing with. All right. I hope this has at least been a little interesting for you. It's very interesting for me because I've never done it before. I know also a lot of you are avid gardeners. So I have 6 little peat pots full of evergreen trees. And if you have suggestions, ideas, let me know. All right. Have a great day. I will see you all tomorrow.